Welcome to EntreNetwork, brought to you by Revision Marketing Group. This podcast is meant to serve as an entrepreneurial knowledge base of wisdom and practical tips in marketing, branding, and technology to help grow your business effectively.
So we'll get right into it. So Quentin Durr, thank you so much for coming on the EntreNetwork podcast, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So kind of tell us about yourself. How did you get into the overall banking world?
So I would definitely say it was a God-driven accident, but also God purposely put me there. So I graduated in management entrepreneurship. I had zero interest in banking, but my grandma kept telling me, you need to get into banking. You need to get into banking. I'm like, I'm not counting money. I hated it. I used to be in the restaurant industry, and I hated running the cash register. I would do the worst job instead of wanting to run the cash register. I hated dealing with money. So I had went to work at a finance company doing payday lending, which was terrible. Terrible. But I was always going in and out of the bank, right? Collecting on people and all that kind of stuff, which terrible job. If you're in that industry, much respect because it's tough.
How long were you in the industry?
I was there for about 8 months, but my brother actually owned a company. And so this was me testing to see if we wanted to do that because we thought we were going to join forces and open multiple offices. Thank goodness that did not go that way. So I end up, a good friend of mine, Ryan Willis, who's now at Lumen, he's also part of CAL's, our network, and over the client experience at Lumen. So a good friend of mine, he was at the bank. He left, went and opened up Taco Bell KFC. He's an entrepreneurial guy himself. So he leaves, and they had this spot, and my boss at the time just wanted somebody that he could find that was motivated, just wanted to be out there and build relationships, and that he could teach banking. Mm-hmm. And so I applied for it. We got to, he had knew me from coming in and out of the bank with the other stuff, and I'd always visit with him. And so he took a chance on me. And I had zero banking experience, I've never been a teller, and just got put straight into lending. And it was pretty much a sink or swim situation.
Wow. So
I had to learn on the fly, what was collateral, what's loan to value, you know what I mean? But thank God it all worked out.
So who was your partner in crime in a sense that kind of taught you all of that stuff? Was it
Brandon Maxwell? And
that was your former boss?
I still call him boss. He'll always be boss because he was so integral. Like the way that he took me in and gave me an opportunity. I'll forever be grateful for that. So we would sit down and talk and. He would just kind of give me that game of the do's and the don'ts and more of the theory and the philosophy versus the transactional. So I understood why I was doing versus what I was doing. And that made all the difference in the world.
Wow. And for the people who don't know, what bank is it and what city?
Yep. So Origin Bank, and they are basically a 3-state bank, but I am currently located in Ruston, but spent most of my time in Farmerville. And that's where Brandon Maxwell is now.
Wow. So your overall journey, what's one of the biggest lessons you learned just in the banking industry overall?
Value in relationships. That is the most important thing.
And that's one of the, not mission statements, but values of the bank, isn't it?
Absolutely. One of our key things is return on relationship. Mm-hmm. We have passed on many deals, but we fight for every relationship, and that's it meets such with my passion that's what's been great about it is I don't have to fake it. Like sometimes you get in that corporate world where you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to really I hate my job and I'm just doing this for a paycheck. Like I love my job, it feeds my soul to be like, oh, I need to go all in and be one-on-one with this business and learn their industry and try to help them grow. You ain't got to pay me, but I'm glad they do. You know what I mean? So, it works out.
Yeah. So what role are you in now?
So currently about 2 years ago, I was doing a lot of traveling. and doing lending, commercial lending, small business lending. And lending on a regional level is tough, right? Because if someone in Monroe calls you and you're in Shreveport, that availability cuts down. And so I had this vision of seeing so much issues with workforce development and what business resources was available, right? What training grants, what opportunities to work with state agencies and how they were shorthanded. And I was like, there's this niche I think we could do where we focus, if we're going to be trusted advisors, we're going to have to know more than just credits and debits, right? We're going to have to understand economic trends. We're going to have to understand what is that small business person really going through, and how can we be an asset and a value and a trusted advisor on that end. So I kind of went down that wormhole and working with a lot of community colleges and small business. So I went to my boss and kind of presented this idea, and I was shocked. They were like, we love it. Let's do it. And Origin has always been entrepreneurial. They breathe that. It's been a blessing because not many times I'm going on my second made-up job title.
Second.
Just because it's kind of like sometimes you have to create something to make that, fill that void, and they've been very good about that. So I say regional business development, small business resource coordinator. We play with a lot of different stuff, but it's really just working with companies, building relationship, and helping them grow.
Yes.
And connecting them to their dream. And that's because a lot of people say, what do you do for the bank? And I struggle with that. So I've had to kind of condense it to, work with companies, build relationships.
Build relationships so they can get a return on a relationship, right?
Absolutely.
Incredible. Because when I first met you, I think it was through Duran, right?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this guy is a banker? And it doesn't fit the traditional mold of a banker. And then once you said your title, it was like, okay, that makes more sense. But what does that actually mean? And then just to kind of watch you over the past, I guess, few months, I guess.
Right.
It hasn't been
Right.
too long, but just to watch you build relationships and just network around the room. It's incredible. And you provide a whole lot of value to the bank. And when we're talking about relationships, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I want to kind of touch on the importance of having a banking relationship with a banker, period, whether it's any kind of bank.
Relationship with a banker is everything. Trust is everything. If you don't have somebody in your corner when you need it, you can fail. I've seen it too many times. You can have a growing business, be doing phenomenal, and be in a situation in a cash crunch because of growth, and not have that resource and that banker behind you understanding what your business is, where you're at in that process, and being there to support you. I've seen a lot of people grow broke. So the key in having that relationship is you really have to have somebody that understands where you're at, what industry you're in, what your business model is, and understand where you're at in the process, and have that ongoing conversation so when something comes up, it's not a shock. If anything, a good banker is going to be telling you what to be looking for, what to be expecting. That's that trusted advisor culture that we have. It's not, I'm not going to wait to take an order from you. We need to be having an ongoing conversation to understand where you're at, what your needs are, and then sometimes I might make a suggestion like, hey, you might want to look out for this, or what about this? And so it just allows that growth opportunity, and then you're not coming in at that time of need. Like, don't wait till you're drowned, and then it's too late, because sometimes the numbers also don't work in your favor, right? I mean, sometimes a huge opportunity. I've had some where, this was the big job, and they knew it was coming, and we had been talking about it, but the numbers didn't make sense, right? It's a collateral issue. So we got a loan on faith and character and understanding that customer. We're lending on the relationship. We're not lending on does the cash flow work, right? Because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you got to wait 90 days, 120 days for you to get that first payment. So between then and now and then, how do you fill that gap? If you wait till you need that, you won't get it. But if you have that ongoing and that relationship with that banker, now it makes it a lot easier. Now they bought in, and I've had it. I've had somebody come, and it was a $1 million deal. We helped structure how their payments were going to be made, and then we've basically funded the gap. And so their largest deal came through our funding, and it was no collateral.
On $1 million. Yeah, because of the relationship.
Yep, absolutely.
So when's the best time to start start a relationship with a banker?
Yesterday. Right, because you always need something, right? I mean, and it's not just business. I mean, that first car, you're saving up for your child for their college fund, to I have an overdraft from an accident, who do I call? To my debit card's not working, right? I mean, all those things require knowing somebody. So if you don't have a relationship with a banker, who are you going to call if you have a big check coming through and you really need it paid, but your other money, you hadn't made it to the bank to make a deposit? Who are you going to call to let them know, like, I got this covered. I have the money. I just can't get to the bank. Like, having that relationship's everything.
Yeah.
A lot of people just text me, hey, this is coming through, and I understand the situation, so I'm able to prove it, and they have no hiccups, So I would say when? Now. So
absolutely. not when you need it. Not when you need it. It's mostly building that relationship on the front end, so you can have that trust built up with the banker, and have that relationship. So they already kind of trust you with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like any relationship. You don't jump out there and just get married, right?
Unless you do.
What you get to know them first,
Hopefully.
right? You meet them, hopefully, right? Yeah. The ones that, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, right? You got to have that up front, get to know each other, understand each other, and then from there build out that relationship. So you don't want to wait till it's too late or you're in need. Don't wait till you need a loan to go find a banker. Yeah.
So for small businesses or micro businesses, so micro, my definition, I'm pretty sure it's different, but sub 500,000. When would be a good time to start communicating with bankers? Because some of these businesses are just kind of like starting up, and they inject some capital into it themselves, and they're extremely afraid of bankers because they haven't had a business relationship where they needed a banker.
Right. So small business needs the banker more than the larger, which might sound crazy, but if you think about it like this, the small business person has to build a relationship, whereas a larger company might stand on its own already, right? You come and you're a large corporation, you have a large balance sheet, large net worth, great cash deposit. You have something to leverage, right? Those are the ones that can go to any bank. The small guy has to build a relationship, help the banker understand what they're trying to do, and then hope the banker is wanting to grow with them. So the first thing they got to do is find a banker that they like, they trust. And I always say, look around you. Go to events. See who's plugged in. See who's actually giving and pouring their soul into their community. That's probably who you want to be with, right? And then from there, get to know them. Go to lunch with them. Most banks have a budget to eat lunch. Get you a free meal. You know what I mean? Like, go hang out with them. Introduce yourself. Spend some time with them. See if your values and your, morals and everything line up with theirs. And then from that point, hey, I'd like to try to do some business with you. So it's important for the small banker, start now. Even if this is just a side hustle.
Yeah.
You need a banker because you're going to need a car, right? Most people need a car loan. Most people may need a signature loan. I've started many companies off leveraging personal credit to have that capital injection to start the business. Which that's a whole nother conversation, of credit score and all that. That can be next series. But, that the main thing is you got to start now.
Yeah.
So when do you start? Yesterday.
Yesterday for everybody.
Yep.
Indeed. So as far as small businesses, what kind of tips would you give them as far as interfacing with a banker or formulating a relationship with a banker?
Like I say, look around you, see what they're doing. Find somebody that you think is going to want to actually grow with you, be interested. Good bankers are hard to find, because our industry is seeing a squeeze where you have a lot of older bankers and you have a lot of young and not a lot in the middle. It seems to be that way. And obviously, like our industry, like all, we're trying to do more with less. So the capacity becomes difficult it's a service issue, right? How do you maintain great service but watch your overhead? So you want to find somebody that's passionate about what they do. If they're not passionate about what they do, are they gonna return your text at 7 in the evening, right? Like those things. So find somebody you like, because you want to like this person. You're about to get real intimate with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's finance. It's, hey, I've got this bill coming through. I need help. But that's the relationship part. You shouldn't be scared to say I need help. Yeah. Like you will need help, and that's okay. But that's the banker's job, is to be there when you need it. So find somebody you like that you don't mind riding around with, because there have been many a time clients that we're in the car for hours, riding around, talking, strategizing, understanding what they're trying to do. And then go in their lobby, really see what they're about. A lot of stuff is a vibe. If you walk in and it feels like a library and, nobody talks to you. Yeah. Or if you come in and if they're rude or, just it's like kind of one of those things, test it, find the right one. And then when it feels right, now you want to trust but verify,
Trust but verify. Indeed. So, no, I think this is incredible. As far as small businesses looking to grow within a different industry, and then they're trying to have a banking relationship, what would be something that a banker is looking for aside from the character of the person?
Yeah, so there is a responsibility on the business also to be good stewards of their money, right? Credit, character, collateral. Those are kind of the 3 C's, of lending. But from a business standpoint, you want to make sure that you understand your finances. If you don't, find someone to help you. Understand your situation. Don't over leverage the business. But also understand that relationship is 2 ways. So if you let's say you want to, you're in that point and you have a need and you want to borrow money, you need to understand what are you bringing to the table too. It's like any other relationship, right? So a lot of time people want to leverage, take a loan to start a business. That may not be the best thing to do. You may need to save up, put that initial, equity injection. Then. It only makes sense to borrow when that borrowing is going to make you money. If you don't have any revenue to justify borrowing that money, you may want to think about why are you borrowing the money. So it's some of those things to understand, to have a good understanding of what you're doing, what your business is doing, and being educated about your business. Yeah. Because ultimately it's not the banker's job to make you successful. It's just to help you be successful.
Yes. No, that's good stuff. So with that, and just looking at the banking and so it's not so the relationship is a person-to-person relationship. It's not necessarily on a business level, right? So it's not Origin having a banking relationship or a relationship period with Revision Marketing Group. It would be the founder, so Sidney Jackson. Right.
Absolutely. So, that's the relationship key of it, because you are the business, right? If Sydney goes down, what happens to the marketing company?
Michaela takes over.
Right?
Yes.
So then whose business does it become? Michaela's, right?
Yes.
So you follow where the decision making is. That's where the importance, that's where the relationship's at. So just like the bank, if you don't have a banker, who are you going to call? If you just call up to the bank, you know, that frontline person's not going to give you the advice you need.
Yeah.
That's not their job, you know, so you need a relationship manager that's going to help you, you know. So, yeah, it's a person to person.
Good stuff.
You know, even with the larger companies, the relationship with the CEO or the CFO or, you know, the operations, you know, officer, you know, those ones that are running the company, that's where you got to have the relationship, because that's where ultimately the decision making falls.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed. So what tip would you give to just a last word of wisdom for just entrepreneurs?
We were
period.
talking about this on the way over here, and even with our podcast, with Catalyst, with, you know, our conversations, it's always comes down to just do it. Just do it. We get so tied up in talking about how we're going to do it or why should we do it. Just do it.
Just do
You
it.
know, you need a banker? Go get one. What are you waiting on?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to start a business? What are you waiting on? You need to form an LLC? Go form it. You know, you got that first client you want to go talk to that you think you might be able to help them? Go talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, I think we get caught up so much in, you know, the fear and the what if we fail? You know, once you get over that fear of failure, it's nothing but blue skies from there.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of failing. Just overall in life, I think. And some of our clients that we get in, it's like they want to start a business, but they want it to be perfect right out of the gate. They want to strategize. They want the website to be top notch, social media is top notch. But at the same time, you have to go ahead and act,
Right.
So you can get information in. And then you can prep yourself, and then we can pivot instead of having some extremely structured. This is how we kind of approach it. And in banking, it's important to have like that business plan, but business plans shouldn't be the Bible. It should always be changing.
Yeah, because you know, it's you can't have the plant without planting the seed. So you got to start sowing those seeds now, you know, and then put that work in. There's a lot of work. A lot of people just want instant gratification. A lot of work, and that work is what you're talking about, the learning curves, the understanding, oh, that didn't work, let me pivot, right? No, that
Quickly.
or hey, COVID hits, the world changed. Now what do we do? You know, if you're afraid of failure, entrepreneurship's not for you.
Yeah.
Because you will fail. It's not if, it's when, you know.
And how often.
Right. Right.
So touching on COVID, before we wrap up, how did banking relationships, just specifically with your bank, help during the COVID relief? And
So the words PPP have given me PTSD.
yeah,
But it was a critical time to be there for companies.
Yeah.
And I know Origin and myself and everybody that was involved in our task force knew that, and we said banks were going to have to get our economy through this because we were the only conduit to help push this money out. And so when I say we were 15-hour days, I mean, I was hitting approval at midnight. You know, we did whatever we had to do. And I think we ran through, in the first couple of weeks, like 3,000 applications for like $700 million. You know, and we're only 3 states.
yeah,
You know, so I mean, we knew COVID could potentially put a lot of companies out of business, and that, you know, PPP, and we stayed on the EIDL and you know, really just trying to be. And that's what's funny is I'd started this whole position with the bank, so I'd already had contacts with the SBA, with LED, and all these things. So we were kind of ahead of the curve of being able to go like, oh, we got to offer people business resources. Oh, that's funny. Been doing that last 6 months, right? So it was just natural. We you know, as soon as it dropped, we had a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, and then we had people with technology. So we were able to really fine tune our process, understood the language, and hit the ground running. And I'm very proud. And our president of Louisiana, Larry Little, led that charge. He's here in Shreveport, but he was great. And so everybody that I work with, and now of course we're going through the forgiveness phase and all that, and so we're just over that hump. But it was challenging, but I like to think and it goes back to that banker, because when COVID hit, we were not doing PPP loan for non-customers. There was too much fraud involved.
Yeah.
So guess what? It's too late. You know what I mean?
You have to have that relationship built already.
Those are the times you're like, thank goodness I got a banker, right? So that was the prime example why the banker is important.
Incredible. And for the people who are looking for you online, where can they find you? What's the best place to reach you?
So if you want to email qdur@origin.bank, or help@highttiderise.com, 2 different ways. And then of course, Facebook, Quentin Durr, Instagram, Quentin C. Durr. Any of those is fine. So I'm easy to find. You can put my cell phone on here right now if you want to,
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the EntreNetwork podcast. I enjoyed it. And I think our listeners are going to have a whole lot of value add from this specific episode. So thank you.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me. And if I can ever help or be involved, I'm here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.